Right. Um, Prince Henry, could you please confirm that you can hear me?
Yeah, Fortune, I can hear you. Can hear you loud and
Awesome.
clear.
So, please, over to you. Please take us through today's session. We are all excited to hear what you have for us today.
I'm glad you're all excited to receive what I have for you today.
Yes.
Actually, our last session was more of a crash course, a guide through, where
Okay.
I exposed most of you to the Photoshop application. So today is more of a practical session. So um, I'm hoping everyone joining today has the Photoshop app. If you don't have it yet, it's not a problem because I'll be sharing my screen and then you'll be following through step by step. But then I feel like if you have the Photoshop app and you follow through as I design, once you do that, you'll be able to learn a little bit faster and you'll be able to keep most of the concepts with you even when we are done with the session. But I like the fact that this session is being recorded, so it means at a later date the video might be available to everyone so that you can use it to practice whenever you want to. So let's take a quick recap so that those who are just joining would also benefit. So I'll be sharing my screen shortly. Okay. I hope you all can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Wonderful. So basically, last week I exposed you all to Photoshop and I spoke about the fact that Photoshop has three main parts. We have the tools section, which is here. We have the canvas, which is the working area. And then we have the panels area. Then on top here, we have the menu bar, we have the tools options bar, and then we have the status bar down here. So the tools bar is where you access your tools, obviously. The options toolbar is the toolbar that gives you different options for a specific tool that you have chosen. So if you should choose any tool, you'd see that the options toolbar changes. Any tool you choose, you'd see that changes are being made in the options toolbar to give you a wider range of options on how to use that specific tool. Now, the status bar down here also gives you the parameters of the canvas you are working on. So you would have the size of the canvas, the the size of the canvas is here, magnification and all that is also there. And then we spoke about the panels area where you have access to different panels that allows you to make edits on your canvas. So I remember telling you to presume Photoshop as as an artist trying to paint something. So the artist would have his canvas, obviously, what he's going to paint on. He's going to have his paint brushes, which are his tools, and he's going to have his colors and all that to beautify whatever he or she is painting. You can think of that as the panels. Okay. So after we have gotten this quick recap, let's just jump into what we are going to do today. So today we are looking at a more practical session. We are looking at a more practical session. So we'll be designing our first flyer today. So before we jump into that, I want to clarify something. Like I said in the last session, graphic design is all about creativity. So everything you pour onto your canvas should resonate from your imagination. You should be able to conceptualize something in your head. Then you are able to pour that on your canvas, because that makes the whole process easier. It's like when we were in KG way back, when you are asked to draw on your own, it's way difficult to do that than when you are asked to trace a drawing. When you're tracing a drawing, it's way easier because you know what you want to get. You know the end result of your drawing. So if you are tracing, it's very easy. But if you are asked to draw something from your imagination, that is very hard because you would have to conceptualize and draw from your head. Now, I have trained my brain in such a way that I conceptualize what I want to produce. So I produce the end result in my head. Then all I do is I trace what is in my head onto my canvas. So it becomes so easy. It's like what I want to achieve is in my head. I picture it in my head. Then from there, I just keep tracing whatever I have in my head onto the canvas. So over the years, with my experience in graphic design, what I've realized is this. There are two kinds of designs that you could do that people relate with a lot. The basics of design. So the first one is the simple combination of shapes to create a design. And the second one is photo manipulation. Photo manipulation. So what do I mean by this? What I mean is, let's take a look at this design that I made. Now you could see that this is a very simple design to get out an information. Keep her in the picture, get her checked, breast screening for employees. You see that this is a simple design to get out an information. And how did we achieve this? We just applied the principles of design, color, harmony, and all that, the principles and the elements of design. So for a simple flyer like this, you just bring in a couple of shapes and then your text and then some picture to harmonize everything, and then you have a very simple flyer. Or you could do picture manipulation, something like this, creating things into the existence of your canvas. So it's like, let me show you what I mean by that. Now you see that everything I have showing here all come together to give you a very beautiful piece. But then if I start to scrape them all off, you realize that these are just pieces of certain pictures that I've combined to actually give me the output we saw. So that's basically picture manipulation, like forging in pictures or forging in elements that are not supposed to be there, but you forge them, put them there to actually make your concept very pleasing. Let me put it that way. So that's basically picture manipulation. And over my years of experience, what I've realized is that people tend to appreciate picture manipulation more. If you are designing and you are using the picture manipulation concept, people tend to appreciate that more. So today's session, we are going to look at both concepts, and hopefully we will complete that in 2 hours. Hopefully. Okay. Oh, there's also one I didn't talk about, and there's also the hybrid. The hybrid is combining picture manipulation with the simple design method. So, looking at this flyer, for example, I did a little bit of picture manipulation here, where I incorporated this lady into the office before I added this square and other elements to make the flyer complete. So there's an example of a hybrid where you do a little bit of picture manipulation before you bring in the basic elements to resonate with the kind of design that you are creating. Okay. I thought someone had a question, but since no one has a question, let me proceed. I hope you all can hear me. Today, I know I sound a bit down, but I hope you all can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Wonderful. So, since you all can hear me, then let's just proceed to making our first design. So, if you have your Photoshop, please open your Photoshop. And today we are going to design from scratch. Honestly, I don't know what I'm going to design, but I think I have something in mind. So we are all going to flow with that team. So just like I taught you guys in the last session, we are supposed to create a new canvas where we'll be doing our design. So you go to File, then you go to New. Now the default social media or digital print size is 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels. That's what Instagram uses to scale its posts. So if you post anything on Instagram, the default size is 1080 by 1080 pixels. So now if you have this beautiful canvas here, you want to create something. Now today we are going to create let's say a sales flyer for a shoe. A sales flyer for a shoe. That's basically, I chose that because we'll be able to cover most of the tools here, how it's used, and we'll be able to understand the layers panel. We'll be able to understand the layers panel amongst other functions. So without wasting my time, let's just jump into that. So first of all, I would want to know if most of you have Photoshop now. If you have Photoshop, just say a quick yes, and then I'll proceed from there so that I know that. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we have. I have it installed. I'm sure that a lot of us already have it installed after last week's meeting.
Okay, great. So I don't know if you can open it alongside, but I think it just occurred to me that might also be a problem. So even if you are not able to open it alongside, it's no problem. You can just follow through what I'm doing. Then when I'm done, you just try and reproduce what I did. I think that should be fine. So let's just start with the whole thing. Okay, so I just selected a rectangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it over my canvas. Like you see that now I have my rectangle over the canvas. The default color is black, and then it is on top of the white background originally on the canvas. So the rectangle now comes on top of that background. And one more thing before we proceed, I forgot to add it. If you are making a design, one thing that appeals most to people is your color harmony and color combination. So most of the times I advise that if you are creating anything at all, you should limit your color scheme or your color palette to maximum 3 colors. A little bit extreme, 4. 4 should be your worst case scenario, but 3 colors should be fine so that you can easily harmonize all your colors. But in the case, I'm not saying you can't use a lot of colors, but harmonizing a lot of colors, you need some form of mastery. But if you are starting as a beginner, you would have to limit your color scheme to 3, 4 colors maximum, so that you can easily harmonize those colors to create something beautiful. So from here, what I'm going to do is I want to create a gradient on this rectangle. So how do I achieve that? I just come down here to FX, then I choose gradient overlay. So then once I choose gradient overlay, oh, apparently my default gradient is here. Well, that was what I was going to use anyway. But how did I achieve this? You tap on it, and then you'll be able to change your colors here. You see this small tree house, this small house down here, looks like a house actually. You tap on it, and then you'll be able to change the color at the extreme end of your gradient. So I can change the color to blue, green, whatever. And then there are different variations also here. So it's basically up to you to choose what color you want. And for gradients, what makes gradients beautiful is the fact that when they are consistent, when there's consistency in your gradients, that's what makes it beautiful. So what I'm trying to say is you can't choose a color like red and then your other extreme color is let's say yeah, blue or something, like a color that is so off. You could actually make it work. You could actually make it work. One thing is with gradients, when you're using the radial style, normally it's able to blend whatever colors that you choose. But if you're using the linear, it throws you off somewhere. So you would want to pick colors that are consistent so that you have this continuation in color to give you a very beautiful gradient. So I'm going to use the radial. Yep. And I'm going to change this color to a lighter shade of red because I'm using red. So I want a lighter shade of red. That should be fine. Okay. And one thing, gradients don't necessarily have to be just two colors. You can actually add more and more and more and more colors to your gradient. That one is totally up to you. You just click in between any of the two house looking icons, and then you would have a gradient in there, and you can change the colors of each of them. You can change the colors of each of them. Same approach. So that's basically it. So I just added a gradient overlay to my canvas, and I'll just go ahead and continue with the design. So once I have this now becomes my background. So I would want to throw in some elements to facilitate what I want to do. Now, the concept I have in mind, I want to create this flyer where a shoe is being showcased with the price and the name and all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to Google. Yep. Yeah, I'm going to come to Google. I'm going to come to Google. So I'm going to come to Google, and I'm going to search for, let me see, red and white podium. So I want to download the form of a stage, sort of, that I could place the shoe on. None of these is actually resonating to what I have in mind. Okay, this looks fascinating. Have a look at that. Okay, I think I'll go with this one. So just copy the image, and then Control V to paste. Control V. You can just use Control V to paste, just like the normal copy and paste. So now, just like I told you, now I want to scale this because it's too big. So I'm going to use Control T to use the transform. For those who joined the last session, yes. So Control T to use transform so that I can scale this. And then when I'm done, I check it right here. So now I just want this stage, this podium. I don't want the background. It's distorting my design. So I just want to select this stage. So I select it in my layers panel. As you can see, it's already selected. And I come to select and then select subject. My machine is very slow today. So you guys would have to bear with me. Ideally, this is not even supposed to take 5 seconds. But because my machine is slow, that's why it's delaying. So I'm sorry, guys. Okay, it's done. So just to check if Photoshop did a good job in selecting the podium. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom. You could just select zoom and then zoom in at the point where you think there might be a problem, or you could zoom out. You could just come up here, click this minus thing, and then zoom out. Oh, okay, I think it didn't select this side very well. Yeah. So then I would want to correct this so that it will be straight. So how do I correct this? I come to this tool, the object selection tool. And then once it's selected, you need to take note of this. You see that you could see that it is the minus sign that is in there, which means whatever selection that I click, it will be taken out of the major selection. So if I select this right here, you see that it has taken this part out of the area that has been selected. So if I want to add that small area, I want to add, I go for the plus, and I just click on that. Yes, and I have my straight line. Wonderful. So then I'll have to zoom out. You see, zooming out using the zoom tool sometimes is very stressful. So to zoom out, I will just use Control plus the minus key on your keyboard. I felt that is more convenient for me. So now I've selected the podium. What I'm going to do is I can either create a layer mask, which is here. That is a layer mask. It removes the background. Or I can make a copy of what I've selected. So Control J. Then I delete the original layer. We still arrive at the same outcome. So you could either use the layer mask, or you could just make a copy and delete the previous one. Then you would arrive at the same place. Now, one thing we all can say is anyone who picks this up automatically knows that you photoshopped it. So anyone who sees this would be like, hey, you just went to copy something and came to paste it there. And that's the beauty of Photoshop, and that's the beauty of designing. Now we have to make this podium blend with the background. This has to blend with the background so that it doesn't look like we just copied and pasted there. You get it? So first of all, I would correct the color. I'd want to correct the color because this color I'm having here is a little bit off the red I'm using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease the exposure. How do I do that? You come to this right here, the adjustment layer, and I'm going to add in a little bit of exposure. Now note this, if I make any editing to these controls I have here, it applies to everything that is beneath, every layer that is beneath this particular layer. So I actually want to tell Photoshop that whatever editing I do, it should just apply to this podium. That means I'm going to clip it to that layer, the podium layer. So then I just clips the exposure layer to the podium layer. So then whatever editing I do here applies just to the podium. So I'm going to reduce the exposure a little bit. Then I would offset it so that I start getting a little bit here. That's more like it. Wonderful. So now we can see that this is much better than what we had before. And now we are getting a little bit of the blend. Now we can see that this is gradually blending in with the background. Now, like I said, when you are making a design, you should be creative. You should be creative enough. So what I'm going to do is obviously if this is on the ground and there's a light source behind it, then there should be some form of a shadow down here. So I'm actually going to create a shadow down here so that it will give the impression that this is actually standing on something, like this is a ground on which the podium is standing. So how do I create my shadow? I'm just going to select a circle and drag it like that. Yep. And I have a black circle. Good. Now, this is where I would want you to understand how the layer panels work. So you see that a shadow can't be on top of the object. The object is rather creating the shadow. So I want this shadow to be underneath the object so that it will give the impression that the object is standing on some form of a ground, a leveled ground. So I want this shadow to be under the podium. Now, if I come to my layers panel, what you can see is that the shadow is on top of all the layers I have here. So I'm just going to drag that shadow beneath the podium, and automatically it's under the podium. So after this, I actually want to make my shadow a bit more realistic, because anyone will know that this shadow is photoshopped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter, and I'm going to blur it a little bit. Yes. So before you actually apply filters to any shape or any path or any object, it must first be a smart object or a rasterized object before you can actually make changes. Now, just here you know what both means. Now, if you convert it to a smart object, you can edit it later. But if you rasterize it, you can't edit it anymore. So normally I advise that you just convert to a smart object that you can edit later. So now I want to lay it out a little bit, so that my shadow looks a bit more realistic. Yeah. I think that is fine. Let me close it up a little bit. Yeah, I think that is fine. Yeah. Wonderful. Then I feel that's too dark, so I would reduce the opacity here so that, yeah, it becomes a bit subtle. Yeah, I think that is fine. And now I feel the podium is hanging on the shadow. So what I want to do is I want to smudge in the cutout a bit. So I'm going to come to this tool right here. That's a smudge tool. Then I'm going to zoom in. and I'll smudge in the edges a bit. Now you realize that my brush is increasing. What I'm doing is I'm tapping on the parentheses key on your keyboard. So you see that we have the brackets on 9 and 0. That's what I'm pressing. I'm pressing the parentheses around the where you would find your P, your letter P key, and the delete. Around that area, there are these parentheses there. The right one increases your brush, and the left one increases your brush. But then if you can't find what I'm talking about, you could just come here in Photoshop, this side, to increase or decrease the size of your brush. Okay, so let's proceed. So I want to smudge in a little bit.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Fortune. I think we lost him
I
for.
think. Oh, okay. Guys. So I think Prince Henry lost his connection or something. So while we wait for him, anybody wants to? Okay, I think he's back. Did I hear his voice? Hello, Prince Henry.
This thing is happening again, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. So is it that all that I did no one saw, or?
No, we saw it, and then all of a sudden it just went off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
All right, please, you can continue.
Okay. So, but you all saw to the point where I did the smudging, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. So then after smudging in, I want to position this a little bit on the shadow to give that impression. Okay. So now we have a podium, we have our shadow, we have a background. We are all set, making a very beautiful flyer. I have a good feeling about this. Now you should all note one thing. So far, I haven't really incorporated any new color. I'm just playing by my red and my white. My red and my white. Nothing new, just the red and the white. And that is giving you some form of consistency. That will give you some form of consistency to make your work appealing. So now I want to place some on this platform. Obviously, I'm going to go for a red and white shoe. I want a high res. So what I'm going to do is, I actually searched for some shoes. Now this website, I hope you all can see Freepik. It's a website where you can get a lot of elements for your graphic design. They even have free already designed PSD templates that you can use for your flyers. But I don't really recommend that because once you download those flyers that have already been designed, bear in mind that they've already been designed and sold to other people. So you are not the only one using that template. So even if you are going to use that template, you would have to make a lot of changes so that the design becomes yours. But then this is a great it's a great website to download already designed templates for your graphic design. Yeah, it's a good place. But for me, no, I don't like designing. I don't like taking templates and using them. I always like to make my own designs. But what you can do is you can also come here and get inspiration. When I say inspiration, for example, you want to design something, you have no idea how you go about it. You can come to Freepik and then search for a particular design that was made in that way. You can actually look at, oh, this is how they go about it. Then you can get ideas on how to go about yours. Or you can just go ahead and download whatever has been designed and then you take it to Photoshop and then make a few changes. You are good to go. So I want to use this sneaker. So I'm going to copy the image and Control V. I'm going to paste it in right here. Now you see, I don't want this white background. I only want the sneaker. So I'm just going to select subject. And once again, wait. And my machine is very slow. But then, is anybody designing alongside, or you are all just following through the process till I'm done? Then you can try on your own.
For me, I'm following. After which I would try it later.
Okay, that's wonderful. So I think this selection did a great job. So I'm not really going to adapt any other parts. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a copy of that, and I'll delete the previous layer. So it's too big. It's bigger than the podium. So Control T to get your transform, or you could just come to Edit, Transform, Scale, and you have the same thing. So I just want to scale that onto my podium, just like that. Yeah. Now, in just like the podium, we want to create the impression that this is sitting on the podium. You get it? It's not as if we just cut and pasted that there. Ideally, the way you position your designs or your elements actually gives that impression. You see, I haven't really done anything to this, but it's already giving that impression that this shoe is sitting on the podium. But then I would want to add in a few elements to actually make it look realistic. So I would want to add a shadow to this to make it look realistic. So what I'm going to do is same process. Second. Let me scale this a bit more. Yeah. That should do it. So I would bring in my shadow right there. I want that to be under the shoe. So I send it under the shoe. Let me expand this podium a bit. Okay. Yeah, that's much better. Much better. Okay. Then I want my shadow to be under the shoe. Now you see that this shadow is not really covering every part of the shoe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of this tool right here. It's called the warping tool. So I'm just going to use the warping tool to align my shadow under the shoe. Yeah. Wonderful. Then I'm going to go ahead and apply my filter. The blur. Let me call it smart object. Yes. Yes, that's more like it. And then I'm just going to make a duplicate. So to make a duplicate, like I said, you could just use Control J to make a duplicate, or you can just hold down Alt, the Alt key on your keyboard, and then you select what you want to make a duplicate of. So I want to make a duplicate of the shadow so that I can drag it underneath the other shoe. Yeah. And the other shoe also has its own shadow. So I would want to reduce the opacity a little bit to make it a little transparent. Yeah. And I think that should be fine. Now you would want to smudge in on the base of the shoe to blend with the shadow. So I'm just going to go ahead and smudge in on the base of the shoe. Just to blend it with the shadow. Okay. I think this is looking great. So far, so good. And what we are going to do now is we are going to add an extra layer. This is where you add an extra layer. But I want that to, yes, I want that to be exactly here. So I'm going to select my brush and I'm going to paint in some thicker shadows so that it can add up to the blend. So I'm going to reduce the flow. What the flow will do is it is actually going to reduce how much color your brush would spill on the canvas. So I'm just reducing the flow. Let me see if my brush is soft enough. My brush will be very soft, so zero hardness. so that it will give this. Use that. Oh geez. That's it. And what is it? Under the shoe, yes. And that is giving me an extra sort of touch to the shadow. So then basically what we are doing is we are finding ways of blending elements we pick from outside into our main design. So I just reduce the opacity a little bit. I think 85 should be fine. Yeah. And just like that, we have the blended shoe also in our background. So now I will just proceed to add the text. Now for the text, I'm going to use Moonwalk Miss. Yeah, Moonwalk Miss. I actually like that particular text because it's very bold. So I really like it. Very bold, very big. So I really like it. So yeah. You just drag your text box over the area you want to type in your text. And you go ahead and type. And I'm going to follow my color scheme. So, right. And then what I'm going to do is, oh, it's already behind. Ideally, if you have a case scenario like this, where the text is on top of your design, so you want it to go behind it, once again, you visit your layers panel, and then you drag it behind it. Drag it behind whatever object you want the text to go.
Hello, Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Please, we would take 10 more minutes, and then after which we would allow for questions and answers before we continue.
Okay, sure.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sure. So we drag the text behind the shoe using the layers panel. So that's basically what I did. And I'm going to add in a few touches. So right here. You see, I just typed in Nike, but you are not seeing it because the space I provided for my text is smaller than the size of the text right now. So I've typed in Nike right now, but it's not showing because it's very big. The Nike I've typed is big as this, but the area I've given it is too small to show it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control A, which is going to select everything that I've typed in there, although we are not seeing it. And I'm going to reduce the font size till it comes very good. So yeah, that's much better. Then I actually want to make a duplicate of this text down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down to Alt, press and hold Alt, and then I'm going to drag this down here, and I have a copy. So I want this to be for Now, I want to open up this text. So like I taught you in the last session, I want to do that using the character panel, but I don't have it anywhere here. So I'll go to Window and then Character so that I can make edits to this text. So I just want to increase the spacing. Yes, that is much better. And then I want the color to be a little bit subtle, like that. Did you all just see that? I wanted to change the color of the text, but I wanted the color to be something that is closely related to the design that we are doing so that I have a consistency in my color. So what I did is, once you are selecting a color and then you move the color picker, what I'm shaking right now, if you move it off your swatch, this is the color swatch. If you move it off your swatch, you can actually pick a color from your canvas. So any color from the canvas at all. So then I just choose a color closely related to the red, but a little bit darker, so a darker shade of red. And then okay. Then I have that. So at this point, I think we'll go for the break. And then when we come back, we'll proceed from here.
All right. Thank you so much, Prince Henry. I believe we've all learned a lot. So at this juncture, we will take questions. Any questions for Prince Henry? And then he can address them before we continue. Have anything boggling our minds concerning the whole graphic designing, please feel free to ask them. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, this is Idris.
Okay, just go on and ask your question.
I've been watching closely. I'm following all right, but now if you give me the opportunity to do it, this is my first time learning graphic design. It will be a bit difficult. So what I'll be suggesting is, after everything, you should just give us the outline, how he was able to design this, like the steps involved, so that you follow the steps and you do the same and send it to him the next class. That one will be a great practice.
Could you take that again? Outline as in the steps.
Like the steps involved in designing this flyer, so that you give us an assignment to design something like that with an outline. Like you do this, you click here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So as in I share a Word document or something with the steps.
Yes, please.
Wow. That would have been helpful. That would have been helpful, but I don't know if I can actually get the time to compile that. Fortune.
Yeah, Prince Harry.
Is there a way you could compile that?
I was hoping that
understand how we achieve this.
Oh, I've been following, although I might still have troubles with some of them. So I really understand where Idris is coming from. But I was thinking, since the course has been recorded, we can always come back to watch and follow the steps that you follow to get wherever you go to.
Okay. That's great. But last week's one, you couldn't get the recording.
Right. So we'll try as much as possible to make all So last week's course was recorded. This course is also being recorded. So we'll try as much as possible to upload them so that you can all have access to them and then always go back to
Okay.
whatever steps that he used to get where he got to.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah,
nice idea.
thank you.
Thanks.
Please, any more questions?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So
Go for it.
let me ask something. It's regarding creativity, right?
Okay.
When you were speaking, Prince, when you were speaking, you said that for anybody designing with Photoshop, you should be very creative. And you would bear with me that some people are more creative than others. So for other people who are not so creative, how would you suggest anything that they can do to kind of boost or improve their creativity in this regard?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I was really hoping someone asked this question. Wonderful. Now, here's the case. Everyone is creative. Everyone is creative. Just that you haven't really unlocked that part of yourself. I mean, I'm a petroleum engineer and I'm doing graphic design. Everyone is creative. And then when I talk about creativity, I am not necessarily talking about the fact that you should be able to come up or conceptualize and things out of your imagination. That's not the kind of creativity I'm talking about. But I'm talking about smart creativity. For example, when I added this shoe to the whole design, my intuition as an engineer told me that, okay, if there's a light source, then I should add a shadow to actually make what I'm doing more realistic. That's the kind of creativity I'm talking about. So that kind of creativity, even when you are designing something simple, that creativity makes it beautiful. For example, when I was designing this, I just added rectangles to the edges. Then I was like, oh, okay, let me just pick the colors from the logo and then just keep alternating them. And then I did that and then I just got something beautiful out of it. So what I'm trying to say is that when I say be creative, I'm not trying to say unlock your inner creativity, like you have to be this design guru. No. But then in the little thing that you do, just think around it. What can I add to this thing to make it better? You get it? And when we added the shadows and all that, you could see that this thing has blended in a little bit more. I mean, if you come and then they tell you that we Photoshop this, you won't believe it. You actually think that we took a picture of this shoe on the podium. That's what I'm talking about. I hope your question is answered.
Yes.
Okay.
But so from what you actually said, it means the practice, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that creativity comes out of the practice. I mean, I think I lost it. I would have showed you guys my first flyer. You all laugh at me. But someone actually paid for that flyer. That was the first flyer I did. To this day, I just see that I'm like, wow, I've really come a long way. So that's how it is. You keep practicing, and then you get to realize that there are certain loopholes that you would want to close in your design. So anytime that you are designing, you see certain loopholes that you want to create, and we'll see that shortly in the next design that we'll do. That's if we have enough time. So any more questions?
Hello, Prince Henry.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll just go ahead and ask my question.
Okay.
So I was wondering, how do I get, if I want to maybe create a flyer or something, do I have to take pictures after which I bring them here to edit, or is there a way that I can, design the picture or something? What is the way to get the picture? Because you were saying that, for example, the one you used here, other people could also use it and stuff. So what would be the way to get a picture to use for my design?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a beautiful question. So, like I was saying, the website that I showed you, Freepik. I'm not saying that pictures are all around. Pictures are all around. There are licensed pictures and there are unlicensed pictures. What happens is Freepik, where I downloaded this picture, most of the times all their pictures are free. But what I was saying I had a problem with is the fact that they also have PSDs on that platform. When I talk about PSD is basically, did you join the last session? Okay.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah. So you know what a PSD is, right? PSD is the Photoshop document. You get it? So if I save this as a PSD and I send it to you and you have Photoshop, you can actually open Photoshop. You can actually open this in Photoshop and you're going to have access to all my layers here. So you can actually edit what I've done here. You can change the colors, change the text, change what, you can change everything that I've done. If I share the PSD of this file with you, you get it. And Freepik has a lot of PSDs available. So you can actually download a PSD from Freepik, bring it here, make changes to it. For example, you downloaded something like this from Freepik, and then someone has reached out to you that, oh, I want a flyer for my Shito business. All you have to do is change this shoe and put a Shito there, change this name, write the name of the Shito brand, and you are done. That's how easy it is when you get a PSD from Freepik. But what I'm saying is, mind you, because it's free, you are not the only one downloading that PSD. A lot of people are downloading it and using it as well. So that yours must stand out. So if I'm saying, if you download a PSD from Freepik, when you are editing it, make the changes and all that, change the colors, change a lot of things so that your design stands out. And one thing is, when you download a free PSD from Freepik, you must attribute the contributor. So the person who designed it, his name is there, and you must attribute the person. For Ghana, it's not a big deal if you don't attribute the person because nobody really gives a damn. But here in the United States, you'd have to attribute the person. It's like writing a research paper and then you take an idea from another person's paper. You'd have to cite the person in your research paper. So if you are taking a design from someone and you are actually altering that design, you have to attribute the person in your design. That's how to go. But for pictures, you can actually download pictures anywhere. I mean, you're in Ghana, so nobody really cares about copyright. But one thing, let me show you. On Google, you would realize that there are these tabs here, and a lot of people don't make use of it. These tabs up here allow you to do a lot. They are all filters. Let me show you something quickly. Oh, yes. So you see, once I come to tools here, why is this English? Once I come to tools here, I can actually choose the size of what I'm searching for, the color of what I'm searching for, the type of what I'm searching for, time it was posted or made available on Google, and usage rights. This usage rights. You see, we have Creative Commons licenses, commercial and other licenses. So it means you would want to go in for commercial and other licenses. Because if you go for Creative Commons are more of licensed pictures that you cannot use. I think people have actually purchased that picture or someone has patented that picture. So if you use it in your design and the person sees it, the person can sue you. And then if you go for the commercial pictures, yeah, those ones are free. You can use them. But like I said, in Ghana, no one is really monitoring these things, so you can just go ahead and use any. But here, it's actually a big deal. So have I answered your question?
All right, guys, please, any more questions?
I think Samuel was on.
Okay, Samuel, please go for it.
Yeah. Hello, Prince Henry. Thank you very much for today. The last one, this is just a point of confirmation. The question about creativity, if I got you correctly, the import of the response you gave was that being creative when it has to do with designing, i.e., using Photoshop, is one of the ways in which you'd define creativity is making it look as real as possible.
Exactly.
Right. So that's to say that if you have a look at it, you just ask yourself that question: what does not look real here?
Exactly.
And then you find it. How do I make it look real? More, go on and on and on. In that regard, everyone has that creativity. Is that it?
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
And thank you also for the tools section. Sorry, on Google. I never really drawn my attention.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. So it means you've all learned something new. Okay. So just a little heads up. Anytime you are downloading a picture from Google, be careful what you download. And most of the times, when you come to Google, most of the times I think they show it on the picture if it's licensable. Sometimes they show it down here as licensable. So you'd want to be looking out for that as well. Yeah. So can we proceed now?
Yes, please, you can continue.
Okay. So now we are at the peak of our design. So I want to add in a few elements to make it more fun. So let me just throw in some basketballs. Yeah. So I want to add some basketballs to make it more appealing. I think this is nice. Is there any other? Okay. Wonderful. I think this is nicer. I'm going to copy the image. You see, before I paste the basketball, I'm actually checking my layers panel before I do that. Why is that? Because wherever that is highlighted, the moment I punch Control V and it's pasted, it is going to be pasted on top of that layer. You get it? So for example, Control V, you see it has been pasted behind everything, but actually wants the basketball to be in front of all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up, select my topmost layer, and then Control V. Now I have my basketball here. So now I want to select just the basketball. Now sometimes in Photoshop, if you have a black background, I think one of these is able to remove the black background. Oh, okay, yeah, it's screen and color dodge, but it's going to make it blur. Anyway, I want to remove the black background. So I'm going to select subject. I'm sure if you're not going to take anything out of this lesson, you should be able to know how to select something out of a picture and make a copy out of it, because I've done that a couple of times in this session. So at least for that, I know you wouldn't have a problem with. And I really hope Idris is able to follow through the video to actually make his first flyer, or probably make a duplicate of this.
Yeah, yes, please. I'm watching.
But that's the thing. If you have any problem, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to me, and then I'll tell you how I went about it. If you forget anything, you can reach out to me anytime, and then I'll tell you how I went about it. So now the selection is done. So I'm going to make a copy, or use the layer max, but I just like making copies. And then I'll delete that, and I have my basketball. So I'm going to place my basketball right here. Yep. Basketball right here. Wonderful. And then I'm going to make a copy. Hold down Alt, then drag. Now I want to shrink that. Yep. Let's put that there. And I'm going to make another copy. Put that here. Very big one. Wonderful. So now my basketball looks like it's hanging. So what does it need? A shadow. So I'm going to draw that shadow. And it's on top of it. So I want to drag it underneath it. So I drag it below the first layer. That means I've not gotten there yet. I drag it again. We need the next layer. Oh, and then we are there. So I'm going to blur it, convert to smart object, blur it a little bit. Yeah, I think that's more like it. And I'm going to reduce the opacity just a little bit to give me the shadow effect. Yeah. Now I want to create the impression that this ball here has been tossed around, as in someone has thrown it. So I'm going to add a type of blur called the motion blur, so that it looks as if someone threw the ball. Yeah. So I think that should be much better. Yeah. Then I'm going to create the impression that there's a camera placed right here. So it is actually keeping this in focus, and it is going to blur this ball. So I'm going to blur that ball as well, using a normal Gaussian blur. Reduce that, bring it into focus. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so that's beautiful. And I actually want to create this glow around the shoe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the shoe, because those who joined the last session, remember I told you about auto select. So auto select is checked. That's why when I clicked the shoe, automatically it has selected the shoe for me. Then I'm going to add a stroke. This is where I added the stroke. This is where I'm going to add the stroke. Sorry. So stroke. And yeah. Which color do I want? I want something closely related to this. No. Since it's a glow, I would go for a very bright color, a very bright red color, a brighter shade of red. So then I increase my stroke to about 0.5. Yes. To make it visible. Then I'm going to add outer glow. That's also here. Outer glow. And normally when you choose your outer glow, the blend mode is on screen. That's the default glow mode. But I'm using a color, no, not color blend. It's supposed to be color dodge, yeah. So I'm using color dodge for my glow. So I don't know if you could see something happening over here. You could see the glow that I'm adding. Adds a little bit of touch to our design. See if I can expand that. Yeah. Reduce the stroke a bit. Should be fine. Yeah. And then okay. And just like that, we have that effect also there. Yeah. Okay. I think it's better without the stroke. And then you have something like this, basically. So now I want to add in a price for this shoe. Normally, what I do is I go online, download the price tag, and then come and Photoshop it in there. But because I want to expose you to another form of transform, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to write the price down here. So down here, I'm going to sell this for $54.99. I'm going to use another font. Let's say Poppins. I'll use Poppins. I'm going to increase the size of that. Okay. And yeah. Now I want this to blend in with the shadows down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a different form of transform known as distort. But then I'd have to rasterize the type first or convert it to a smart object. Once I convert it to a smart object, that means I can distort it. And this is how distort works. So now I want to create that impression that this is part of the shadow. The price is actually part of the shadow. So then from here, you could see that the distort part of the transform allows you to actually create different perspectives for 2D objects. So right now the 54.9 looks like it is lying down, as in it's on the floor. It's giving that perspective that it's actually on the floor. Basically. And click OK. So just like that, it's giving the impression that it's actually on the floor. And I would want that to blend in a little bit with the shadow. So I'm going to let it look like that. Reduce the opacity. And there we have it. So just like that, we've created our first flyer. So at this point, I want to know if anyone has any more questions or any suggestion, anything you would want us to add to this to make it better and all that. Something you would want to know, something you didn't understand, something you want me to go over. Now is the time. Because I think we have less than 30 minutes left. I don't know if I can cover the next part, but if you have any questions, now is the time. Something you'd want me to go over. Or if there's nothing to, then I'll just proceed to the next part. Okay. Adolf, Fortune.
Henry, there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
Japan is asking the font you used.
Okay, the font I'm using for the Nike Air Force is called Miss Moonwalk. Yeah, Moonwalk Miss. Yeah, Moonwalk Miss. That's the font I'm using for the Nike Air Force. And for the price tag, I used a font called Poppins. Poppins. So you can actually download these fonts and then install them on your computer, and then you would have access to it right here. Basically. So I'm actually confused at the moment because the next part is also very involving. Photo manipulation is also very involving. So I don't know if I would have to rush through the 30 minutes or I should just end the session here. Fortune, what do you think? Should I rush through it? Hello. Fortune, can you hear me?
I don't know if Fortune can hear us, but
I was talking the time. Please, can you hear me now?
we can hear you. Well, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was
No,
suggesting
Fortune.
that that part is involving. Maybe we can take it to the next session, because as much as we want to cover the stuff, we also want to be able to understand. So maybe, if possible, we can take it to the next session and then you can take us through.
Because I plan on taking presentations in the next.
For the next. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. If that is the case, then I think we would have to just make do with what time we have left.
Okay.
No. So I also suggest we do small of that. Don't rush to actually take your time and then take us through wherever we get. We continue from that place next week. Then we start with the presentations.
I think I have a brilliant idea. Just a sec. Yeah. There it is. How many of you remember this image from the last session? You remember this image from the last session, right?
Yes, please.
Please remember.
I'm just going to use that to explain photo manipulation. Okay. So the photo manipulation, like I said, we are trying to achieve a harmony between elements we are bringing together. So if you remember the last session, I brought in this picture, a totally different background we saw somewhere. And then what we did was we copied this picture, and then we placed it in there, and then we made a cutout. How did we make the cutout? Just like I've been doing, you go to select, and then subject. Then it makes a cutout around the subject. My machine is woefully slow. I've wasted all my time. But please bear with me. We'll finish shortly. All right. So it makes a cut around your subject just like that. And you can either go with Control J. Control J makes a copy. And then you delete the original copy. Or you can use the layer mask. This one. This icon down here. This one. So you just select that and then it creates this layer mask we are seeing here. So you have your cutout. Now sometimes when you make a selection and then you want to deselect, if you have a selection like this and you want to deselect, it's Control D and then it goes off. Control D and it goes off. So keep that shortcut also in mind. So now you see that this gentleman right here is totally different from the background we have here. So once you just cut this guy and then paste him here, you send this to someone and the person is like, you just dropped this guy here. So what I did was I want to blend this guy with the background we have here so that it will actually look like he's there. So what did I do? You can see that in this background, I have a light source here coming from his back. See, the light source is coming from his back. It means light is going to fall on his back. His front is going to be dark. So the light source is going to be at his back, and his front is going to be dark. So how do I achieve that? Photo manipulation. I just added a layer of exposure. To add your exposure, you come to the adjustment layer and you have exposure there. So I added exposure and then I clipped it to him so that the editing I make doesn't affect the whole canvas, just him. So I clipped this to clip the editing to him. And then I actually added in some exposure. You see, when I add an exposure, it's making him dark. Like that. And then I added another layer of exposure to make him darker. So after doing that, exposure comes with its own layer mask. Now, what layer mask does is when there is when you apply some form of editing to your design, layer mask, as the name suggests, layer mask, it is masking that area, it is covering that area. So if you want to expose that area, you just paint over that area. That's basically what layer mask means. So for example, let me just clean this and do it all over again. I'm just cleaning everything and then do it all over again as fast as possible. So that okay. So originally, when you apply the exposure to the cutout, the guy that you just added, this is how it looks like. Looks all dark and that. But I want to make this realistic. So I know that there's a light source behind him. So you remember in our last session, I was talking about rim light. So then this light source is going to create a rim light around him at his back. And then his front is going to be dark. So this is the creativity I'm talking about. Like, we just think about ways of making it as real as possible. So then what I'm going to do is, I want to add a rim light to his cutout. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to select my brush here, and then I go to my exposure layer. Yeah. And then I go to my exposure layer. So you can see that my first exposure, this one, I made him look very bright. And then my second exposure, I made him look very dark. So then what I'm going to do is, using the layer mask, if I paint over the dark exposure, it is going to expose the lighter or brighter exposure. That's the purpose of the layer mask. It is like a mask that is covering the action. So if I paint over, I'm actually revealing what is underneath. Understand the layer mask is sometimes it's very confusing, but it's very essential in making a very catchy designs, especially picture photo manipulation. So one thing you should know is the layer mask just operates in these two colors, white or black. So when I select black, normally you click this to swap them. This arrow here, you click it to swap them, or you can just press X on your keyboard to swap them. If it's black, then it means you are concealing, and if it's white, it means you are exposing. So for example, if we look at the layer mask here, the part that is black has been concealed, and the part that is white is what we are seeing as the man. So sometimes I can invert this layer mask, and then you see that the man has disappeared. So the black part is concealed, and then the white part is what you want to show. Okay. So going back to that, now I want to make this realistic as possible, and the light source is behind him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my brush, and then I'm going to paint in areas I want to conceal. Now note, I'm concealing this particular exposure because it is dark. It is showing that this guy is dark and I want the light to show. So I'm actually going to conceal some of the dark parts. So I'm going to select my brush, select a suitable size, suitable hardness, and I'm going to create what we call the rim light. So normally, what we do is we zoom in and then we paint in on the areas where the light source is coming from. Increase the size a bit. We paint in on the areas where the light source is coming from. You see that automatically this is giving me some ambient look. Just painting on that. I hope I'm not confusing anybody and you are all following through. So then you only be painting areas where the light will be reflecting on. Just be painting this side just to reveal a little bit of light to give the impression that this guy is actually there. Yeah. Then painting a little bit on his shoulders over here. Yeah, that's more like it. And now, what I'm going to do is, now that we've painted in some highlights from the background, we're also going to paint in the actual light itself from the background. So then what we are going to do is, we are going to create a new layer and clip it to the man again. You can either right click, yeah, you can right click and then create the clipping mask here. Or you can press Alt and place your cursor in between to clip it. Then I'm actually going to pick my brush and I'm going to pick a color from the light source. So to pick a color from the light source, you hold down Alt and then you pick a color from the light source so that I can actually paint this color. Yeah. So we can actually paint this color onto the guy to give the impression that the light source is actually, oh, I don't like the flow of my brush. Yeah. And then I just painting some lights in there. Yeah, just to give that impression. But I hope you are all getting the idea of photo manipulation. We are just basically making the elements blend in with the background that we have created, or the background we just brought in. Basically, that's what we do. So I feel you can add this part of his face. Yeah. Just to create that impression. Okay. So once we are done, we could change this to hard light and then reduce the opacity a bit. And then we are good to go. So then basically we've just embedded in this guy, we've just embedded in onto a completely new background. Yeah, basically that's what we've done. I know this particular part, a lot of people won't understand because it's a little bit detailed. So what I'm going to do is you could reach out to me personally if you want to know more about photo manipulation. But until then, because photo manipulation involves a lot of tools, a lot of thinking, and all that, that's a bit advanced. But I still decided to teach you anyway because I want this course to cover a lot of grounds as possible. So if you have any problems with photo manipulation, you can reach out to me on the side and I'll assist you. But for now, like Idris was saying, Idris, do you have a problem with photo manipulation? Hello? Or did Idris drop off?
He's on. Idris, can you hear him? I don't think he can hear you. He's probably away or something.
Okay, sure, no problem. So that's basically what I mean by photo manipulation. Everything that I was doing, just trying to blend this guy with the background so it looks as if he's there. That's the basic idea of photo manipulation. You don't just cut and then paste there, but you actually blend in there to bring out that creativity I was talking about. So I think I'm going to end this session here, and you can practice with the flyer we just did, and then you can share that with me in our next session, and we'll proceed from there. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining today's session.
Thank you so much, Prince Henry, for today's session. I've learned so much from all that you've said. Guys, so we are about to end the second session. Before we go, if there is any question that we have for Prince Henry, we can bring it on. We can bring it out, and then we bring this session to a close. Hello, Idris, are you back? Idris, are you on? Okay. Any questions?
Fortunately, I just want to thank him once again for going further to introduce us to these concepts, the photo manipulation and also the normal editing, where we put in shapes to make a flyer or design something for ourselves. And this has been so helpful. I can't wait for the next session, which will be on presentation. So thank you so much, Prince, and I hope you all learned something from this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adolf. Personally, I think I look forward to the presentation stuff because I used to be somebody who was really passionate about getting my slides and stuff to look really cool. So I really look forward to next week's session to see what new things I can do with PowerPoint. All right.
There is a question in
think
the chat
there's a
though.
question. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
Richard Obie is asking, is retouching same as photo manipulation? Henry, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't catch that.
So Richard is asking whether retouching is the same as photo manipulation.
No. Retouching. Okay, yeah. Retouching could fall under photo manipulation in the sense that when you are retouching, you are making changes to the original photo. You're actually making it to look appealing. But more of photo manipulation has to do with. Let me give you an example. You see how movie flyers are made. Like they just pick cut scenes from the movie, photo shoots from the actors, and then they actually blend everything into something beautiful. That's photo manipulation. So yes, retouching could also fall under photo manipulation because once you are altering the photo's original state to actually make it look more pleasing, you are manipulating the photo. So I think retouching also falls under photo manipulation. Yeah.
all right, guys.
So-
Is there any more questions?
Yeah, no question. But Angela is saying you are welcome, Prince Henry. Though I'm kind of new to all these, but I learned something. Thanks, guys. That's from Angela.
Okay. More questions before we round up today's session? Okay. Any more questions, guys?
More questions?
Okay. Prince Henry, thank you so much for today's session.
Okay.
Thank you for the time itself. We really appreciate it. And taking us through the patience to take us through all of these things and the details. We really appreciate it. In the absence of any further questions, I believe that we can bring this session to a close.
But I hope everyone understood how we arrived at where we arrived, right?
I did. I know I did.
At least you could do something. I'm not expecting your first flyer to be something like this. Definitely, but I want it to, resonate the concepts we used here. So you could just try and then do your best. Just follow through the video and then reproduce the same thing. And then please do well to share the video as early as possible so that people can follow through.
Yeah. I think we have to do that as soon as possible. Adolf, you can make that work, right?
Yes, we will get them the video as soon as possible, like you said. Hopefully by the middle of next week. That should be available.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Looking forward to seeing all of you next week. And thank you once again for joining us. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hi.